I absolutely love making boxes, and I'm here to try and convince you to make one with me. They are just the perfect project at almost any stage of a woodworker's development. As a beginner, we often think about making tight joints and getting things flat and square. But then as an intermediate or advanced woodworker, we often think about elements of art and principles of good design, balancing the look and the feel and the form and the function, which is not exactly easy to do. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make this beautiful watch box that figures English walnut. You can see that the English walnut transitions between this beautiful striped heartwood through to the chatoyant, highly figured sapwood, and it is also grain wrapped around all four corners. Looking on the inside, you see a series of 12 leather-wrapped watch holders, balancing out color, texture, form, and function. Now, even if you're not a watch collector, you can pivot this into a keepsake box, a jewelry box, or even a tea box. Boxes are something that are honestly universally useful to almost any woodworker and any recipient.
So the first important step is to identify the wood that you think would look most beautiful around the outside of the box. In this case, I'm going with an absolutely killer piece of English walnut that I can see, even in the rough, transitions between the beautiful striped heartwood and the highly figured sapwood. So what you see me doing in these operations is liberating exactly the 4-inch wall segment that I think is going to look perfect for the outside of the box. I can't underscore enough how important grain selection is for the overall piece.
One of the things people really like about heirloom boxes is if you can wrap the grain around all four sides so it looks continuous. And the way you go about getting a 4-way grain wrap is shown here. So you take one thick board, double thickness, and you cut it down the middle. All right? And so if you extend that, right? What you have is you lay it out like this would be the front, this would be the left, and now the left joins the back, and you can see these opposing grain, because they came out of the same board, they match beautifully. So wherever you cut this, if you cut it in the corresponding place, the left and the back will have a grain match, and of course the back transitions to the right, so there's a grain match, and then the end of the right wraps back around to the front, right? Again, because they came out of this same board, so the grain is perfectly matching on all four sides. You get 1, 2, 3, 4. So to catch you up on where things are, this is the lid. And I decided to book match the lid. You see the heartwood down the center and the sapwoods on the sides. I did this by sawing a piece in half and then flipping it like that and then gluing it down the center. So why I did that is because on the sides, it's heartwood on the bottom and sapwood on the top. And I thought if I book match the top, I can continue the sapwood motif around to the top. Now, I like to have a bevel on my tops, which means cuts like, diagonal cuts all the way around. And one of the things I have to do though is to make sure I don't bevel it so much that it doesn't fit in this slot. So to do that, to figure out my bevel, I set a guide, a marking gauge, at the exact dimension of the slot, and I run this down this board. And you can see, can you see? And you can see it makes a nice mark here, and that's the thickness of my slot. So when I put the primary bevel using my SawStop on this, I'm gonna make sure that it doesn't go thinner than my mark. Now you can see that those 4 table saw cuts established a nice primary bevel around all 4 sides. Nice and even, nice and equal. Now, because this was made oversized on purpose, it does not fit into the grooves of the top of the box, right? So this is where you can take this now to your shooting board with a hand plane and dial in that fit just perfectly so that it gives you that perfectly snug fit, sneaking up on it a few thousandths at a time. At this point, it's time to assemble the box for the first time. This part is always one of the most fun and enjoyable periods. So, we start with the dividers, and I have them labeled 1 through 5, so I know where they go. Because these have been individually fitted, as you can probably tell. Now they like to fall out while you put them in, so we'll do a little bit of that game. Alright, there we go. Alright, all 5 are in. Look at that. Great. Next we put the front and back divider in. Captures the first set of tenons beautifully. Next, the front divider. Make sure those tenons get in there. Great. And last but not least, we capture the centerpiece with the side panels. These are all mitered at the corners. And it should be a nice tight fit. Look at that. Excellent. Check the lid. Perfect. Now let's put some watch boxes. Let's put some watch holders rather in here. So these will eventually be watch holders. The sides are milled on the CNC to make sure that everything is identical. And the centerpiece could be made of any wood because it's completely covered by leather cord. So what I'll do is put a bit of hide glue in here and then put the piece together like that. Like that. You can leave that in. All right. And then once that's glued together, I'm going to wrap leather cord around it, and your watch sits on top of it with the band going underneath. And there'll be about 12 of these in the watch box. So the final step in assembling the watch holders after you glue them is to pre-finish them with shellac and then wrap them in black waxed leather cord. When you do that, it looks like so. And it gives a really nice, sophisticated look to where the watch face will sit and the watch band can wrap around, and there's extra space down here, so when it sits on the wood, it doesn't get jostled. It's nice and clean, sophisticated looking, and like tidy. Now, if you'd like to copy this design, I'm absolutely okay with that. I believe that we as artists learn new design languages originally by copying what we like and then evolving or changing the style or putting our own spin on it. So if you'd like to make these watch holders, absolutely feel free to copy these. I don't mind at all. Just give me a heads up, say hi. I think it brings us together rather than being competitive. So now I'll show you how I go about wrapping this. I hope this video has inspired you to try your hand at making a box. I think you'll find it both rewarding for you as the maker and certainly for whoever happens to be the recipient.